studio today.
Oh, you're welcome, John.
This is certainly an interesting election, lots of issues being discussed. With your experience and knowledge, what do you bring to the community that help us elect an NDP government?
Well, what I bring to the community, I've been privileged to be the MLA since 2009, and also I have experience as I was honored to be Minister of Community Services and Minister for Status of Women and Seniors during the NDP mandate. And even beyond those years when I got into politics, I have brought a lot to the Chester St. Margaret's area in my volunteerism. I actually won a provincial award for my volunteer activities, and that was throughout the constituency and focused in Chester Municipality, where I'm a lifelong resident. So I have many skills to bring to the position, and certainly the experience and the knowledge. It takes quite a learning curve to learn what's going on in terms of being a part of a caucus and knowing who's in different departments and building those relationships that enables you to be heard. And I think that's one of the major strengths for me is the experience and the knowledge that I have been heard within the government departments. And people can look at what I brought to the constituency in the last 2 mandates that I've been here in terms of what roads. I've had over $50 million worth of road work done in the constituency. I've brought money to organizations such as the New Ross Learning Center, $1 million, and also the Healthcare Center in Chester of $500 million, and money to Troop Island when we were working with the Stewardship Association and Nature Trust to save that island. And also I put a lot of energy, and I still am, with regards to the Bowater lands. When we did the buyback the Bowater, it was an amazing experience of community and individuals and organizations coming together to bring back land that belongs to the public and always has, and now that has been threatened under this government. So I would say that because of all those diverse experiences that I've had, and I've got a proven record, that I would certainly be honored to carry on as the MLA for Chester St. Margaret's. There's still work I want to get done, and people know that whether I'm in government or whether I'm in opposition, I get the work done.
I think that's critical. Can you describe a little bit about the difference between being a Dexter government versus the future government of Gary Burrell? What does he bring to the table that you see as being exciting and interesting for Chester St. Margaret's?
Well, what I see with Gary, because of his background of being a minister, this is all about investing in people, and that's the direction that Gary wants to go. And I really believe in that because we've been doing the same old in the province for decades, and we're not getting the results that we want. We still have a big deficit, and so investing in people is what we need to do. There's a lot of European countries that have done that. They've been successful, so we're not going to be the first to look at government in that manner. And interesting enough, John, if you stop and think about it, all the parties run on the left. They talk about what they want to do for the people. And then when they get into government, they're running on the right, except for the NDP with Gary Burrell. We will be a balanced approach, but at the same time, we know that our major philosophy and priorities will be people in Nova Scotia, whether it's through the healthcare system, which we know is in an absolute crisis. I was just surprised when I was in the legislature and the Premier stood up and said that there was no crisis in the healthcare system. And as the MLA, I have had hundreds of people come to me with respect to not having a doctor, waiting for hip and knee replacement surgery, which were the last on the list in Canada for that. We have gone backwards under this government. And, when we were in with the NDP, we were able to solve the issue with the crisis in the emergency centres by opening collaborative emergency centres, which this government has refused to do. So under a Gary Burrell government, you're going to see something that I think people are going to finally take a deep breath and say, oh goodness, I'm being looked after because this government's priority is to invest in myself and my family and the people of Nova Scotia.
When we look at Chester St. Margaret's and look at the future, what are the challenges that this community represents, and what issues are we facing?
Well, like throughout the province, health seems to be the number one issue I hear at the doors. And one of the things with Chester St. Margaret's, we are a diverse constituency. We have the more suburb areas of Talon, and then we have the more rural areas like in New Ross and, the Western Shore at the other end of the constituency. Rural Nova Scotia has been really attacked under the Bignell government. It's been very difficult with the film and television industry, which of course was bringing in millions of dollars, and had quite a domino effect in terms of all the people that could start up small businesses to support the industry. That's been a big hit to Chester St. Margaret's. Roads are always an issue, and when we were in government, we had created that asphalt plant. We bought an asphalt plant, and it was an awful decision by the Liberal government to get rid of that, because that asphalt plant, what it did is we were able to get twice as many roads done, and the roads that normally don't get done, like sort of the back roads that people are seeing that haven't been paved for over, some of them 60 years. I was able to get the 40s road done, which wasn't paved for over 60 years. And because of the asphalt plant, our competitors in the paving industry had competition. And what we saw was a lowering of the tender prices. We couldn't believe how much more that Nova Scotians were being charged for road paving. And once you threw that competition in, and they knew that the province and the staff had knowledge of what it cost to pave roads, and that they had a chip sealing crew for the province, boy, those tenders dropped. And with the Liberal government getting rid of that asphalt plant, the prices have gone up again. And that has reduced the number of roads that we've been able to get done. I'm very pleased with the fact that I've got good relationships and that I work very hard to make sure our roads are looked after, and we got much, much more work to do in terms of that. And there's roads that I am pleased. We've got the number 3 in the Chester area that definitely needs work on the 5-year road plan, which was created by the NDP. I have Eastover on the list this summer to be done, but there's many more roads and smaller roads that need to be done. And so we need a government in there that understands that, and understands that by investing in our infrastructure, that it does develop and it creates a spin-off in the economy. And we need these roads done for our tourism. It all has an intertwining, John, effect. I always refer to it as a domino effect. So we have in Chester St. Margaret's some of the most beautiful areas in all of Nova Scotia, and I would argue in Canada. We have talent galore, and that's where we need to be focused, on our creative industries, on our small and medium-sized businesses. One of the things that we're looking at in Gary Borough government is creating a local economy commission. And I know people say, oh, well, there's another committee, but no, this was different because of the fact we want to bring the small and medium businesses to the table, have them part of the discussion of what they need in terms of support from government. That's never happened with regards to those levels of businesses, and let them be a part of the policy making. The other issue that I mentioned earlier was with respect to the Bowater lands. I played a very key role in the Dexter government pushing us to make sure that we would look at purchasing those lands. And I was fortunate that Premier Dexter at the time agreed to that, and we worked with the community, and and everybody came together, and they saw this vision of us finally having back these beautiful lands for the people and for the public. And they're being threatened now. The clear cutting in this province is out of control. We're seeing that we're not able to get back on those lands. And what we wanted, once again, was to bring people together, a diverse group, because we have all different interests in our lands, from the woodlot owners to tourism, to the fishers, to the ATV users, to people who want areas protected. And even though they have diverse interests, you can bring those organizations and those individuals together and have representation and work together to come up with a plan of how we're going to share those lands. And that has not happened under the Liberal government. They've just shut the door to the public, even to the small woodlot owners that are suffering, and put together a big consortium of 10 major corporations to make the decision about our lands. And what's happening is the lands are just being clear-cut, and we're not going to have woods left. I understand. I was talking to a gentleman last night who said, he's taken his truck back through some of the roads, and when you get off behind those buffers that they like to leave so people don't see the clear cut, he was saying that you can just see right across to sometimes to the Windsor area that's how bad the clear cut is.
Denise,
so, John, in Chester St. Maurice, there's a lot of issues. So it's important to have somebody that, right after the election, I'd be going back to the same speed of getting work done.
When we look at woodlot management, the softwood industry in Nova Scotia, especially in the 40s and New Ross area, that is the livelihood of many of these communities. What is the solution to managing this natural resource?
Well, I believe the solution is what I just said, is bringing everybody together. And there is a great fear of losing your income and what's going to happen. And change can be challenging. But the present situation is not supporting many of those small woodlot owners. I have spoken with them, and they can't compete. They can't sell their wood because of the large consortiums being the one in control. So, number one, we have to make sure that we bring people together and that we can talk honestly across the table, and to have the woodlot owners at those tables, also have the other interest groups, and see how we can share the land. And we have to make sure that, we can't go and just clear cut, and it takes time for trees to grow back.
Balance.
So there's going to be a period of time we're not going to even have any trees with the level of clear cutting that we're doing. So those woodlot owners are not going to be able to sustain their businesses. And that part is fearful. So we can't keep doing it the same way, or they will not have any business left.
True enough. And I think as indicated, balance is critical when it comes to any policy, any government, and when it comes to woodlot management, certainly balance is critical.
Absolutely.
Now, I really appreciate you coming on the show and taking your time out of a busy day that I know you're door knocking, engaging the community, but I have a couple more questions, kind of fun questions. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're listening to when you travel around the community? What's on your radio? What's on your iPod?
Well, of course, Cove FM. I've been very fortunate to be able to have a radio show, MLA at the Cove, and we've been, basically it's a nonpartisan show. I just bring people in, and we just have a discussion of what's going on in the communities, and it's really enlightening, and it has been for me, the number of different activities and organizations that we have that sometimes we don't know about. So I really enjoy having the radio station on, because it's a community-based radio station, and what's better than having that community base and hearing what's going on in the community. And the other thing I love is the diversity in the entertainment that's on Cove FM. I can turn it on, and sometimes I can hear hard rock music, and I can turn it on another day, and I'm hearing some great country music. So if you're the type of person that likes a little bit of every type of music, Cove FM is the dial to turn your radio to.
That's a great promo for our show. Thank you. Now, what's the one gadget that you can't live without, especially on this campaign trail? What gadget are you taking with you every day?
I would say, you're probably thinking that I'm going to say my phone, because everybody's always texting each other, but I don't bring my phone with me. It's in the car in case my campaign manager is trying to get in touch with me. But I think the gadget that I take that's good as me is Denise Peterson-Rafuse, going to the door and, telling people if they don't know about the work that I've done and where I would like to go, if I have the privilege to continue to be the MLA, and certainly ask if there's any questions on the voters' mind, and if there is, that I'd like to answer them. So I'm the gadget at the door.
Perfect. Now, what book inspired you? Music, maybe a movie, but what inspires you?
People. I have to say, people inspire me. Being in politics is certainly can be a very tough game. I often tell people the real political part of my job is not my favorite part. The favorite part of my job is when somebody calls me and they have a problem or an issue that hasn't been resolved and they don't know where to go. And, there's sometimes that I'm not able to resolve the issue, but I give it my best, though, and I believe that the people that I'm trying to help know that. And then there are many times when we are successful and I'm able to help an individual or a family, and to just see their gratitude for doing that and thanking me. That's the part that inspires me. It's working for people and working with people.
Now, who is your Nova Scotia political hero? Is there someone that inspired you in politics?
Bill Estabrooks. When I was making a decision to run for politics, I took about 3 months to think about it, and I had discussions with Darrell Dexter, and one of the discussions I had with him is that, if it came down to that an issue was brought forward and the party thought differently than my constituents, that I would go with my constituents. And Darrell respected that, and I appreciated that. And then I went to Bill Estabrooks and talked to him about, is this something that you feel, Bill, that I could do and I could get involved in, and what's your secrets? And so Bill's been a mentor to me, and we had the privilege of sitting next to each other in the legislature when we were both ministers. And so I was able to ask for his advice, and I always got good advice. And it was always about people with Bill Estabrooks and the importance of being focused, keep grounded, and focus on what you're doing for the people, and stay focused. That's the thing. And actually, Sterling Belleville, that was a message that he gave me too early on. Stay focused, Denise, and so I've taken advice from both those gentlemen.
Great words to live by, and leads into my next question. What do you live by? What's your advice or your ethics that you follow through this election, through this campaign?
Respect. I have been fortunate to be brought up by parents that taught me respect. We didn't have a lot of means growing up, but you don't need a lot of dollars or money in a family if you have parents that teach you that respect is the best thing to go by in your life, and to understand that the greatest achievements in your life are the ones that you work the hardest for. And with respect for people that even individuals that may be giving you a tough time, or when you're running against people in an election, to make sure that your opponent, you offer them and show them respect. And that's what I live by, and I like to encourage others and pass that along to youth, that if we respect each other, then it will make our society better. And to try, when you respect others, what you do is you try to understand what they're going through and try to put yourself in their shoes, because it's always very much different, John, if you put your mind to what is that individual dealing with, instead of, you don't want to criticize or guess what they're thinking. Really try to put yourself in their shoes.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time. I hope you have some great doors to knock on this afternoon and some great engagement. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, John. It's been a great interview with you, and I want to thank you for calling me and asking me a few questions so people know a little bit more about Denise Peterson-Rafuse.
That was Denise Peterson-Rafuse, NDP candidate for Chester St. Margaret.